Okay, morning everybody. Hopefully, as you can hear me all right. I have started the meeting recording as well, so this will be available once we've finished the session this morning, and I'll upload it and I'll share it across everywhere. You'll also find that when this meeting's finished, in your chat section of Teams, you'll be able to find the video in there. I'll also be posting some links to some of the training materials if you've not seen it already, and some other useful links that you might find handy to use once we're finished. Feel free to chip in at any point if you've got any questions, or if you want to leave them till the end, that's fine. If you haven't got any microphones or anything set up and you're just listening to me, feel free to use the little chat option in here as well, and I'll try to keep an eye on that, or at least check it at the end as well. If you've got any specific, just you serious issues you've been having, if you want to leave them to the end and contact me afterwards, that's
Support
fine as
unit.
well. Oh, hello.
Is now joining.
No worries. Okay, so we'll get started. I'll just stop sharing this presentation a second and share my desktop a second. So what we're going to cover this morning is just Teams meetings. So obviously WebEx is going to be replaced. We're hoping to stop using WebEx by the end of March. So we've got to try and get everybody up to speed with using Teams, get through any of the little niggles that you've probably maybe encountered already. So I'm going to run through creating a team from scratch. I'll have to just do a quick slideshow on like the lobby because I can't start another meeting because we're already in one. And then I'll show you some of the meeting tools that you can use and things like that, as well as then the recording of videos and Microsoft Stream if you're interested in that kind of stuff as well. So like I said, feel free to chip in at any point, and I'll answer your questions as best as I can. Okay, so let me just share a stop presenting that. So I'm going to just go on to here a second. So let me just share my desktop. Okay, so I'm just going to start off by creating a new event and turning it into a Microsoft Teams meeting, which is going to be WebEx. Okay, so I'm just in my Outlook calendar. Just, if you could just mute your microphone there a sec, and create a new event. Okay, so when it's fairly simple, I give it a decent title. Okay, and as I'm inviting people to the meeting, you may have noticed this if you've started using this for your new Outlook. It starts to check people's calendars to see if they're free when you're actually arranging this meeting. So if I try and add one of my colleagues in who I know she's off, it tells me that she's on leave, and it also gives me suggested times where I could actually set that meeting for when we're all free. Okay, so that's quite a handy little feature. Okay, now the one thing I forget to do all the time is tick this little button. Okay, so to make this an online Teams meeting, all you do is tick this button. So it's a lot quicker than the WebEx version where you have to go and create it and set it up and add everybody and all the rest of it. You literally just put it in your calendar and tick that button. Okay, you can create Teams meetings via Teams. I'll show you a bit of that at the end as well. Okay, so as I'm creating the rest of this calendar invite, I can categorize that if I want to, if you've set your own categories, so it color codes your calendar entries, so you can do that if you need to. You can also put in templates. I don't know if you've used templates. There's some training bits and pieces on templates in the past. So I tend to put in this little Teams meeting help section that I've set up. And again, I can add this to the chat later if you want to take it. And this just links people to the Teams meeting help page that we've set up. There has like how to connect external people and things like that. So it might be a useful little add-on if you're just starting to get to grips with Teams as well. So I'll share that with you later as well if you want it. Okay, so the most important thing is create your calendar invite and remember to tick this button. Okay, you can add as many people in as you like, or you can just create it, put it as a Teams meeting, and then copy the meeting link and forward it to other people. It's up to you how you actually create these. So I'm just going to send this meeting request off. Okay, and it's just going to think about it for a second, and it's created the meeting there. Okay, so here's one I prepared earlier. So if I click on this event now, okay, and expand it open, this is where I'm going to see the full meeting details. So this is a little test one I set up before. Now, some of you will have been given the WebEx host license previously. So if you used to have a WebEx host license, you'll have been given the new replacement Teams version, which gives you this section at the bottom here. Okay, so if you've set up meetings, and you come back to this screen and this isn't here, your host license hasn't been transferred across, so you just need to contact the service desk. If you've never had one, but you feel like you need one, there is a cost against that. So it's £3 per user per month, which when you add it up is cheaper than, you know, one round trip to Barrow. So if you're going to start using Teams meetings more than traveling across the bay, it does work out as a decent price, really. So you need to contact the service desk with obviously your manager's permission, with your budget code, and then they can get you a Teams meeting audio license. So when I create Teams meetings, I get the conference ID and the telephone number to ring. Okay, so some people had been missing that and wondering how they get access to it. You have to have that extra license. And again, on the link to the training materials I'll show you, the i3 support section has got quick links to ask for that kind of stuff and a bit more detail on that as well. So when you're looking at your event,
Unknown participant is now joining.
so once you've actually created the calendar event there, you do have a few little options down here, because one thing we showed you when we did the original Champions training, for those of you that came on it, was that you could all kind of take control of, you know, if I'm the presenter, you could take control of the presentation and flick through things and grab it, which is good for sharing, but it's bad if you try and do a presentation and people have sort of clicked and flicked through it before you've had a chance. So just down here, you've also got options. If I just click on meeting options, hopefully, oh no, it won't be sharing that screen. Bear with me a second. Let me just share my screen one. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So when I've clicked on meeting options, it's opened up this screen. So I can choose, everybody can bypass the lobby section. But more importantly, I can choose who can present. So I can make it so only I can present, or maybe specific people I've invited to the meeting can present. So you can kind of get a bit more control over the meeting if you need to. Okay, so that was just the meeting options. If I just flick back onto there, that was just this meeting options within the actual event itself there. Okay, so I'm just going to flick back to my presentation in a second. So if I'm ready to actually join this meeting, I literally just click on join the Teams meeting. I'll have to do this via my presentation because it won't let me otherwise. 1 second. So what would happen is I click on join Teams meeting and it would open up this screen. Okay, and then all you need to do is click on open Microsoft Teams. Okay, just this little box here, and that would then take you to the lobby. Okay, now obviously I can't show you the lobby in real time because we're already in a meeting, but this is what it looks like. So this is time to test your equipment. So if you've not really done many team meetings, and I know you're all in one, which is you know, you've all managed to get in all right, but this little cog here on the right hand side, that allows you to check your device settings. So depending if you're using a PC or a laptop or your mobile or whatever you're using, you might have different equipment set up. So I've got a separate plugged in microphone that I'm using to do these, and I've got a separate webcam that I've got plugged in as well. So I can actually drop these little menus down here and select which device I want to use. Sometimes I use my Bluetooth headphones. So again, the audio device and the speaker would drop down and choose earphones as well. So I can test those out. And if you actually choose this little button here, make a test call, it will it'll replay a little message to you, and then you can speak, and then it plays your message back as well, so you can test your equipment before you've even done a meeting. Okay, so if you're unsure if your equipment works, then check that little button out because it's quite useful. Okay, again, if you need some new equipment, you feel like you need some headsets, or you need you can get these little speakers that have a microphone in them that you can just USB plug into your computers. The link to request new equipment is on the new Teams SharePoint page, which I'll show you as well. Okay, so you can request equipment. Again, there's always, you need your budget code attached to it, but it's worthwhile investing in decent kits so you can actually do these meetings properly. Okay, so the other things I can do from the lobby here is I can switch my camera on and off. Okay, if I do switch the camera on, I can blur the background, and I'll do that in a minute or two when we actually get back to the actual real meeting in a second. And I can mute myself before I go into the meeting if that's the case. Okay, so if you want to stay nice and quiet whilst you join the meeting, you can do that straight away. So the other thing some people have asked about is how do they join in by phone? Okay, so just at the bottom center of the screen there, you can see phone audio. Okay, so if I give that a click, that would put me directly into the meeting. So I would have joined the meeting, but I would just then simply type my phone number into this little section here and click on call me. Okay, so you do your full 01524 if it's a landline, or you can use your mobile, and Teams meetings will call you. So you don't have to call into it and use your phone landline or anything like that. It will ring you. Okay, so you can just answer it from there. So that's how you can use spider phones in meeting rooms. But again, if you don't have that extra audio license, you won't have that option. So you might not have seen that button before if you don't have that extra audio license. So you might need to invest in getting that. The other thing you can do is click on dial in manually from here. Okay, and again, it will just show you the actual telephone number and the conference ID for you to dial in if that's the case as well. Okay, all right, so before we move on to actually getting into the rest of the meeting, have you got any questions about those? Anyone had any particular issues? Oh, you sound like you're in a cave. Sorry, was that Okay, I can't hear you. I know you said something a second ago. If you use the chat section, I'll try and answer your question, but I can't quite hear you, sorry.
Adam,
Okay. Oh, sorry, go on.
Adam, it's Catherine.
Oh, yeah.
When you said about filling in the form for new headsets,
Yeah.
it's actually the transfer point they want, not the budget code,
Oh, right, okay.
because I've had mine declined and I've had to resubmit.
Right, okay, no
So
worries.
it's just some useful information if anybody wants to order any.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, well, I'll update the section on that i3 support bit, but it should just take you through to the order form that the i3 service desk needs you to fill in anyway. So it should ask you for all the correct details there anyways. Cheers, Catherine. Thanks for that. Okay, right. So let me jump back onto, let me just stop sharing a second and share my screen one. Okay, so let me just jump onto Teams itself. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my actual Teams meeting slide now. So you probably see some of your own faces there. So once we're in the meeting, we've got lots of other options. Let me just open up this chat section and see what we've got. Okay, yeah, no one's asking anything else in there. That's fine. Okay, so some of the other options we've got once we're in the meeting. Again, I can switch my camera on, give it a little wave. Hello. Now the other thing I could do whilst I've got my camera on is actually blur the background. Okay, so it's pretty fancy. It blurs like even the pen in my hand and things like that. Okay, so you can, if you're out and about, you can, in using your phone, you can use your phone camera to blur the background. Let me just undo that and switch the camera off. We don't need that scaring you this morning. Okay, so that's quite useful. Again, if you're using it for interviews and things like that, it's quite handy. Some of your laptops have got integrated cameras in them. Again, webcams are fairly cheap these days, so if you do feel it's something you need or want to have, again, you can request those through the service desk. Okay. So the other things to show now, if you wiggle your mice, you'll probably see the toolbar within the middle of the screen at the moment as well. So I will just fire up my presentation 1 second again, because again I can't show you the sharing option. So in the middle of the screen you'll have this kind of like rectangular button with this arrow, and that will allow you to then look at what you want to share during your meeting. Now, the best practice when you're doing Teams meetings is to have things ready to go. So, you know, all my presentations were loaded up on my screen, ready to just share. So when I've clicked the share button, it shows me all the things on this bottom left-hand side that I'm ready to actually display to the rest of the team. The other thing it does is, if you haven't preloaded things up, it shows you all the presentations that you've been working on recently, so you can quickly pick them up and load them up as well. So it's quite useful in that respect, that you're not digging around in your files for ages trying to find the thing that you want to share with people. Okay, so that share button, you pick what you want to share. Now, obviously, if you're sharing your desktop or screen 1 or screen 2, make sure that you don't have anything that you don't want people to see. Maybe you've got some private emails open, things like that you don't want to display. Choose the actual application rather than your entire desktop, just to save showing things that you don't need the entire team to look at. Okay, let me jump back onto Teams there. All right, so some of the other options that I've got, hopefully you can see these menus popping up. Okay, is the 3 dots. Now, you've probably all been using Office 365 for a little while now, so the 3 dots is always the, you know, the options and the extra stuff that you want to look at. So we'll just go through some of the options that these little three dots give you. So if I click on the top cog, show device settings, similar to the lobby version, you can see it's showing that my microphone's working. It's showing me sort of the level of the audio that it's being picked up by. If I was having any issues, I could change this stuff from here. Okay, I've got private viewing, so you can switch on or off people flicking through presentations from there as well. Now I've taken this down, so there's only me that can present for this anyway, but if you haven't, you can quickly switch it off from there if that's bothering you as well. Now, the other thing a lot of you have probably encountered is that horrible feedback when you've had multiple people log into the same meeting in the same room, and you get that horrible woo 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 kind of feedback stuff that just puts you off from using it. So that could be because you've got two people in the same room that haven't muted themselves, or it could be your device settings. If some of you are using teleconference machines, or you're plugged into a TV that's got microphones and speakers plugged in. Now, the way you want to just check that is on the bottom of your toolbar here. You'll have your little speaker headphone section. Now, when I give it a click, there you can mute it from here. But if you've ever got a little arrow here, it means that you've got another device that's also got speakers attached. So you would have to click on it, and it would show you sort of monitor, and then you would have to mute that as well. Okay, so if you've done these in the past and you've had the audio feedback loop and you've muted yourself and you've still had it, it could well be that you've got another audio device, speaker device that you need to mute as well. So I'll click on the little speaker here, press the drop down arrow and see what else, what other devices you actually maybe need to mute from there as well. Okay. So that's the device settings again, so you can customize those and change those to whatever you've got set up, because everyone's got a different bit of kit for this kind of stuff. Okay, so the other thing we can do from here is show meeting notes. Okay, so I can start to take meeting notes whilst we're in the meeting here, and these will save along with the video recording and the chat. Text in here, and this will save along with the meeting at the end. So I'm just going to put a load of jargon in there. Okay, and we'll look at that in a minute or two. So if I close the meeting notes down, actually when I go to chat section here and I'm in this team meeting here, that's going to start to have all the meeting notes and files and everything from there. Okay. So that's in show meeting notes. Again, a lot of us are using set templates for agendas and meeting notes and minutes and things like that. So maybe you use them, maybe you don't. It's completely up to you. Okay, so underneath the notes, we've got show meeting details. Okay, and again, that's where we've got the dial-in numbers and the conference IDs. Again, you can call yourself, maybe if you've lost phone audio and it's kicked you out for some reason, you could just get it to call you straight back from there if you needed to, or you can copy the joining information and then quickly send that in a chat message to somebody else. You know, like I said, we're in a team meeting at the moment, but it doesn't stop me from going into another section of Teams or Outlook or whatever, and actually copying and pasting that into a message to somebody that doesn't have the information and needs to join in. Okay, so that's just on show meeting details there. Again, if you haven't got that audio license, you won't see most of that information. So again, you'll need to request that if you want it. Okay, so I can go into full screen. All it does in full screen is kind of get rid of these sidebars with all the activity, Teams, chat, and the top bar and things like that. So I generally don't mess with it, but you can enter full screen if you need to. The other thing that's quite useful is turning on live captions. I'll just switch this on. You'll start to see them appear down at the bottom there. Okay, so just on more actions, you've got turn on or off live captions. So again, more accessibility options that Windows 10 and Microsoft Office 365 have started to put in across everything. You know, you can do these on your presentations. It's not always 100% accurate, but even if you talk really fast, it's generally pretty good. Yeah, so you can see it's made a couple of errors on there, but it's not too bad. If you're nice and clear and speaking all right and you've got decent microphones, it does pick up pretty much everything that you're saying. I find it quite distracting, so I'm just going to turn it off, but it's quite a useful little feature to have in there anyway. So that's turn on live captions. Okay, just flick down there. Okay, so once we've sorry, the chat section, yeah, so show conversation, I've not done that bit yet. So you can see as we're chatting here, I can send you all a little chat message, and you'll probably just see a little red bubble next to this little text logo. So you can all chat to each other within here. Now the chat gets saved. So unlike in WebEx where you could directly message somebody, oh God, this Teams meeting's dragging on a bit, and just send it to one person in the meeting, everybody sees it in this one. So I would see that and be deeply offended. So if you're going to chat message people separately, go back to your own chat and chat to them separately in a private little message between the two of you, rather than doing it en masse to everybody here. Now, the other thing I can do from within here as well, whenever you're using any of the text stuff in Teams, a lot of people don't click reply properly in a message thread, or they hit enter and it finishes it for them. If you press the A, it gives you the bigger typing surface where you can, structure paragraphs and hit enter and all the rest of that kind of stuff before you press the send button. Okay, so I suggest when you're using Teams and you're typing messages and replying and things, click that A first, and you can do a bit more formatting, and it cuts down the errors of people hitting enter too soon or not replying in a thread and things like that. Okay, the other thing I can do from within here as well is attach files. Okay, so you might not have moved over to OneDrive yet, so you'd have to upload through my computer, or I can choose OneDrive and it's showing me different documents from here. Now again, if I let's just choose something random. What have we got? Let's choose that one and share that. Now I can share these files. I'm going to click on send. It's going to give you access to it once the meeting's finished, or you can do it from the chat section as well. And again, this is all saved in this chat section, which will have the meeting details when we're finished as well. Okay, so the chat's pretty useful. Don't worry about GIFs and things. Obviously, you can do it, but don't go crazy with those. So the other thing I can do is mute you all or kick you all out of the meeting if I wanted to. So I can click on participants, and there's everybody there. There's a fair few of you today. And I can, when I click on the little three dots next to your names, I can pin you so you're up at the top. I can remove you, or I can make you a presenter, just to give you a bit of extra control. If you've maybe got a slide you want to show, I can kind of control the meeting if I've tied it down. If I hadn't, it was just an open meeting, you could all just pretty much free for all grab the ball, as it used to be with WebEx, and start presenting and showing things that you want. Okay, so maybe if I've asked you to mute your microphone and you haven't heard it and it's making loads of noise, I could just remove you, and then when you rejoin back in again, you probably got the point that yeah, we needed it to be a bit silent on there. The other thing you can do is invite somebody straight in, which I always think's a bit mean if it dials them, because they're straight into a big meeting sometimes. You might be better just copying the join info by clicking on this link and pasting it into a message to them, like I mentioned before. Okay. So once we've finished the meeting, so before we move on to the sort of the recordings and the after the meeting, has anyone got any questions about some of the meeting tools or the sharing, or had any issues so far? Cool. Okay, right. Well, we'll move on then. Right. So once we've finished the meeting, I would press this hang up button, which obviously I won't, because otherwise you won't see the rest of this today. So we'll go to the one that I did the other day. So I'm just going to go into this one. Okay. So oh, there you go, you're on there. So this is the meeting that we did the other day. So from within there, you can see all the chat that was done before, during the meeting, and afterwards as well. So I posted some links to the Teams meeting help and things like that. But what's also happened is the video that we recorded has embedded itself within here as well. Okay, so you can all go back after this meeting today, and you'll have this Teams meeting web session, and you'll be able to go in here and see all the chat that we've done, and you'll be able to click on the video and watch it back, and you can also share that with other people as well. Okay, but I'm going to show you where your video will go to if you want to start using the transcriptions and the editing and things like that, because that's using something called Microsoft Stream. Okay, so if I just go on to my Office a second, I'm just going to open up a new portal. Okay, so from your Office 365 portal, I'm just going to show you what Stream looks like and what you can do with those videos once they've been recorded. Okay, so it takes me to Stream, and I'm just going to go to my content and have a look at my videos. Okay, so here's the Teams meeting web session that I did the other day. So if I just click onto that one, and I don't need to hear it, but you can see down the right hand side here, it's picked up everything that I've said for the entire meeting. Okay, now even if it has made a few weird mistakes, I can click on the little edit transcript section and actually go in and tweak specific sections there and reword what it actually said. You can see it's actually jumped straight forward to that particular section as well. Okay, so you can actually replay that video segment. You see it breaks down into small sort of nuggets, and you can go in and retweak what it actually said. Okay, and then you can actually just copy and paste all of this stuff out. So if you actually wanted to drag this, copy it into a Word document and have it as your minutes, well, there you go, you've got it. And again, you can chop out whatever bits that you want to. Okay, you should on some of it as well be able to see different people and actually see when they've spoken. Okay, but that depends on what equipment and things you're using. You can have people posting comments. You can even start to add in, I don't know if some of you started using Microsoft Forms, but you can add in a form at the end. So I could put in an evaluation form. So at the end of the video, it pops up a little form and says, oh, I'm trying to fill this in. And then you can collect feedback. And you can actually insert different forms on different parts of the timeline. So you could almost create your own little training videos of videoing maybe using a system or a product, and then having a little interactive quiz form, and then a bit more, and another quiz form, and a bit more. Okay, and from here again, you can turn captions on and off. You can go into your settings and have you look at playback speed, so it slows it down a little bit for you. You can expand it into full theatre mode or full screen and things like that. Okay, so from here as well, you can set up different channels and groups. So I've got a new one that's we're just working on at the moment, where we're going to be putting together lots and lots of little tiny bits of videos and showing you how to use Word and PowerPoint and Excel and all this kind of stuff, as well as the current one that I've got open at the moment for the ETD team channel, which has got file sharing and OneDrive and all sorts of things that you might have seen through the Champions Forum. And again, I'll be showing you how to access those links in a minute or two as well. Okay, so Microsoft Stream is really useful, especially if you are going to start recording your meetings. It takes a little bit of time to get used to all the buttons and where you're going and things. It can be a bit confusing at first, but again, if you need any extra help, just get in touch with me separately, and we can run through some of these bits and pieces and get you set up actually using them correctly. Okay, so that is Microsoft Stream. Just a quick whistle stop tour. And just get rid of some of these extra screens and jump back onto Teams. Oh. Okay. So the other thing we can do, so that's us. We've done the meeting, we've hung up, we've looked at the videos afterwards and everything like that. But there is another way of creating Teams meetings. Okay, so for those of you that have moved to using Teams all the time properly, okay, if I click on my calendar within Teams, this is the other way. Now, obviously, it's showing me what's already in my Outlook calendar, and it's showing me the active Teams meeting that's going on now, so you can quickly join from there. So what I'm going to do is create a meeting from within this calendar, and it acts a little bit differently than your Outlook version does. Okay, so if I click on New Meeting up at the top here, okay, and Test Meeting 6,000, because I've got so many of them. Okay, I can put the meeting in. Now, instead of inviting people, I can actually drop this down, and these are all the teams that I'm part of. So if I choose the Teams meeting team, I'm going to put this straight into the general channel. Okay, so rather than me inviting everybody that's part of this team will just see the invite. In fact, I'll just put a little, just so people don't start clicking it, and if they're not on this particular call and see it pop up. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this invite straight into the channel. So in fact, what we'll do as well, we'll put it from 11 as well, so people don't start joining in. So I'm going to schedule that. Okay, and you can see it's taking me straight to the UHB Teams meeting team and put in the link directly to that particular Teams meeting. So that doesn't send an email out via Outlook, so you wouldn't have that join meeting from from your Outlook calendar or anything. But what it will do is when you're looking at Teams is when I start this meeting is it'll put a little camera button next to the channel that the meeting's running in, and it'll bring up a little pop-up message up at the top here to say Adam Lucas has started test meeting 6000, ignore this meeting, and you can just quickly join from there as well. So how you do it is up to you, depending on if your team has fully moved over to using Microsoft Teams or not. But it's another useful way of having it from there. Okay. And again, from there, you can view meeting details, and you could copy this link and put it in an email if you needed to. Okay, so it's another option. And again, you've got the meeting options like I showed you at the beginning, where you can choose who's the presenter and who's not, and all those options from there. Okay, so as I said, so if some of you have joined this meeting but you're not actually part of this Teams meeting, because I have advertised it through the Champions as well, all you need to do is click on join or create a team and type in Teams meetings or UHB Teams meetings, and it's a public team, so anybody can join this page. I've not tied it down to anything. Anybody can access it. Because on here we've added a frequently asked questions section. So some of the, how do I get a new Teams audio license? Click here. How do I join by phone? Details in there. Can I use my own equipment? Things like that. The sort of the generic questions we're getting over and over. That's all in there for you. What I've also set up is a SharePoint page. Okay, if I just maximize that a second, and this has got loads of videos. So maybe you're wanting to use your app version on your mobile, which is really useful if you're out and about. There's a video on how to do that. There's videos on just joining, on just creating meetings. You can go over this stuff over and over again. I've added a load of documents and guides for useful little bits and pieces, so you can nick those PDFs and share them with your own team members. There's a full guide there which tells you how to do everything. I've also put in like an etiquette guide, which has just got some useful hints and tips for conducting meetings as a presenter, but also as a participant at the meeting as well. And if you like those little slides I put up at the beginning, because obviously when I record meetings, it's important to let people know they're being recorded if you're going to do that kind of stuff. So I always use these little slides just to make sure everyone knows we're recording, exactly what time we're starting. Sometimes I'll give it 5 minutes grace if it's, people are struggling joining in and things like that. Any meeting instructions, as well as the actual meeting details, and then the presenters profiles at the top. So you can have those, just if you feel you want to start using things like that, just grab those and use them as your own. Okay, so as well as all those, there is some of the official Microsoft videos and things in there. Now, some of them aren't as relevant as the extra ones I've done, because it thinks that you've got the big all singing dancing version of the licenses, which most of us don't have, because we've got the web versions of the licenses. The F1s and E1s, they're slightly different to the full mega package of Microsoft that Microsoft offers. So some of the tools and extra things in their videos we don't have. So I've made our own versions within this big video section here. Okay, and then like I said, the i3 support section. Okay, the audio license there, you just need your budget code. If you need any new equipment, like Catherine mentioned before, it's your transfer point, but you just basically click on this form and fill it in. It's got all the details in there that you need. And then if you need any further support from myself or the training team, you can fill in this request form and we'll sort out something for you. And then this big giant button here will take you straight through to the IT self-service portal. Okay, so we've tried to put as much help and guidance and stuff out there for you. What I will do is, once we've finished this particular meeting, is I'll upload this video and I will put it into the Champions section, and on I'll put it in here somewhere. So I'll post the video in here, but also in the events. I'll post a video on there, but also in the events section, I've added training videos in there as well. Okay, so it'll be added to multiple locations, so you can access all this information. I have just done another recent one. Separate to Teams, but if some of you have struggled with sending file attachments as links rather than attachments these days, this video is quite a useful one for you to grab hold of. That's for sending OneDrive links through Outlook and OneDrive, so that's quite a useful one as well. So I'll keep adding stuff into these all the time and posting them in all the channels and everything like that. Also, if you have anything that you're really struggling with, or you've got your champion and your department is struggling with and you need some help, and you think, oh, I could do with a video or some guidance on this, just let me know, and we'll put whatever we can together for you. We have just started working on a brand new section of help, which literally we just started working on yesterday, but this is just going to be open to everybody as well, so you can literally come on here, choose whatever you're struggling with. I'll just open that up, and it's going to have loads of useful videos, guides, FAQs, and all sorts to help you with everything. So this is going to be like your champions tool to hand to other people and go, oh, if you're really struggling, this is where you want to go. Okay, so we're doing as much as we can to kind of give you the tools to help all your own team members as well. Okay, so that's us done. If you've got any questions, feel free to fire away. If not, thanks very much, and feel free to contact me afterwards if you don't want to speak up during the meeting. But that's all from me.
Hi Adam, it's Karen Dollard from Core Clinical.
Hiya.
Hiya. Just a question about generic email.
Generic accounts. Yeah, I saw your chat yesterday. Yeah, so obviously they can't give a license to a generic account. Obviously because it's that whole thing. Well, we could have one big generic account and only pay for one account rather than every person, sort of a thing. So I know that they can't do that, which has caused you a few issues. So I suppose the issue is if you need to change the meeting, is it?
Yeah, that's the main one, because within our team, you know, if one of us has set up a meeting and then we're not around, and quite often it needs changing for whatever reason, the other person isn't able to change it, and we don't want to duplicate it in people's diaries because that'll just confuse them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was thinking about this because I did read it yesterday, and I thought, well, because we can't get around the giving a generic account a license. That's not a way around it. But so the way I showed you a minute ago, by going into your calendar in Teams and creating it from here. Yeah. So if we do this, what you can do is copy this link and copy all the details and then put it in your email to everybody, because it doesn't actually matter what time your meeting is. This link still creates that place for you all to join in and meet. So what you could do is copy this, create this as yourself, and copy it and paste it to your generic account, and then send the meeting request out
from your generic account.
From your generic account with that copied in. That's probably a decent workaround, hopefully. Because then it doesn't actually matter about tweaking this to be a different time. It will show up in Teams calendar as a particular section, but if most of your people are just looking at their Outlook calendars events, then that might be a way around it. That was the only thing I could really think to try and bypass.
Would another workaround be that kind of, so there's three of us, there's myself, Justine and Petra. Could Justine and Petra have permissions to access my account, or is that not fair?
I don't think IG would be very happy with that one.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll have a little play this afternoon, maybe, and a practice, and see if we can work it that way.
Yeah, and if you want to copy me in and you want me to help out and stuff, just give me a shout. I'm happy to help out with those sort of things, and we can try and brainstorm it and get whatever works. Because if it works for you, then there's lots of people in the same boat, I'm sure. So it'd be good to kind of get a generic answer for everything.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
No problem. All right, anyone else?
Adam, it's Catherine again.
Hey, you're right.
Yeah, not so bad. I've set up a meeting with Teams, but I'm on leave on the day that it's happening. So can somebody else just go in and start the meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
because I'm the only one with the license.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's one of the best things about Teams versus WebEx. You know, the host, as it used to be, doesn't have to be there to actually start the meeting. So once you've created it, as long as you've not tied it down that you're the only presenter, which you would have to have done, it doesn't do that by default. Anybody can start the meeting, anybody can join it, leave it, whatever.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so I mean, let's see if there's anyone else. As I say, there's lots of information on that team site. Check the FAQ, have a look through the videos. I will keep producing more material and putting these out there. Once I've recorded this video, feel free to share it with colleagues that you know haven't been able to attend this morning. We will put some more on further down the line, but obviously they're all recorded so people can just watch them whenever's easiest for them, rather than being set to 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever on a Friday. So I'll share those as soon as I can. And if you keep an eye on the chat section of this meeting, I'll post a load of links and things like that as well to the Teams meetings if you're not in there, so you can get access to all that kind of information. All right, so thanks very much, everybody, and I'll see you for the next one.
Right, thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Multiple people are now exiting.
Support unit.
Is now exiting.